Hi, it's Laura, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the benefits and potential downfalls of identifying as a person with autism and identity politics in general. So last night I went to a women's group, and it was just kind of a gathering of women where we were having the intention to have very open-hearted conversations where we would support each other through different challenges that we were facing in life, and help each other with relationship challenges, health challenges, give each other advice, listen to each other, be a sounding board. And I went in thinking about disclosing that I have an autism diagnosis. So I was like, oh, this could be a safe group of people. They're a group of people that I actually don't know that well. And so it's a support group, but they're not like close friends. And so I thought it would be kind of like a good test group to talk with, because it would be kind of like a little lower stakes if they were rejecting. So far I've only told my husband, my son, and one cousin, though I will tell my therapist when I see her. Now, it was like on my mind, and we were there for a little while, and I hadn't brought it up yet, but then someone else brought it up, and they brought it up in the, kind of the exact context that I was considering, but in a negative way. So anyway, it was interesting, and I thought I've kind of noticed a pattern when something is heavily on my mind, that is something that I kind of have an urge to express, but I'm holding back, that someone else in the room will bring it up, and I just think that is part of the human hive mind and the intuitiveness and kind of like the collective consciousness of humanity that even autistic people are a part of. So this person talked about how she has a friend who has identified as an autistic person. She first got a diagnosis when her daughter was diagnosed, and she actually didn't get a diagnosis. None of the doctors would give it to her, but she still identifies as having autism and has started, coming out on social media, maybe doing some advocacy work. And the room was really against this. There was a lot of derision, eye rolling. Why does she need this? She's doing this for attention. And one of the women related it to people that she's come across in AA who identify with being alcoholic, and that being an alcoholic becomes their whole identity. And they really don't realize how much they're limiting themselves. Now, another woman was talking about a woman with Lyme disease and how she was just so married to this identity, and how it was really tied back to the fact that she was confusing love with pity, and how much her parents did not give her any positive attention, and the only attention that she could hope for was if she was sick and in need of support and attention, in need of support. So, in this climate, I did not disclose I have autism, though I actually did hint at it later in the evening. I hinted at it by talking about how I have trouble making eye contact and was in a situation where I was kind of forced to make eye contact, and that I wish that people had been a little bit more sensitive to people with neurodiversity. So I didn't say it, but I did hint at it. But in any case, here's my take on things. Personally, I do think that there is pitfalls and drawbacks to identity politics of any kind. I do think they can be divisive. And I think it is important to be very self-aware of the dangers of putting yourself in a tribe, you know? So this idea of the neuro tribes, and it's like, oh, I'm wired differently than you. We are fundamentally different. We cannot relate to each other. And my tribe, you know, maybe is more special than your tribe, kind of thing. And there is just kind of like a built-in pattern of divisiveness and tribalism. It's a little scary. I think it is wise to be wary of that, and to make sure that we're not falling into this pattern of tribalism, of being elitist, exclusionary in our own way, and not falling into so much of the divisiveness that has overtaken our world. Also, many of us were abused as children. And it is always important to examine our motivations. So what I'm saying here is that when someone offers kind of like this kind of, you know, cutting deep critique of people who are identifying as having autism, it's not to have a knee-jerk reaction, not to become overly defensive and shut off to that criticism, but instead to take it in, ponder it, mull it over, and examine how it applies to your life. And for me, I will be clear that, that is tricky water for me, because I was neglected as a child. I did not receive a lot of attention as a child, positive attention as a child. Is there a certain craving for attention for having a disability? I think for me, I've done a lot of examination of my childhood, and I was fairly abused as a child. And my conclusion is that my parents were abusive people, and they would have been no matter what child they had. I don't think things would have gone well for any of the children, likely. I think abuse has just been rampant in my family for generations. However, my sense of it, in my particular case, is that having autism did kind of make me more of a target, because my mother would get so frustrated with me over things like my inability to have my hair brushed, and my picky eating habits, and the fact that I chewed on things. Like she had no patience for the ways in which I was a little bit different, a little bit quote unquote weird. So I became more of a target for abuse. And, is there like a little part of me that is like, hey, mom, don't hate me. I'm Like, please, just, I'm autistic, Mom. Like, you can't brush my hair because I'm autistic, not because I'm a pain in the ass, you know? But yeah, there's, is there a kind of a need within myself that wants someone to finally give me the attention and compassion that I craved as a child? Yes, I think yes. I would be lying if I denied that was an aspect of me. But I think I can be aware of that and also know that is a part of me that I need to take care of and I need to nurture and I need to pay attention to and not seek that from other people. And that still can be separate from wanting and needing an autism diagnosis. So there's that. There's the wound. There's the pain. And that was pointed out to me. That was brought to light. Like, hey, there is a shadow side of this autism identity, of identifying too strongly with it. There is a shadow side to it that you need to be cautious of, and you need to be aware of. You need to be aware of the divisiveness. You need to be aware of the elitism. You need to be aware of the tribalism, and you need to be aware of a need to fill some unmet needs from your childhood. That all can exist. That all can exist there in the shadow. It's brought to light. Yes, pay attention to it. It is there. Okay? Yes. But also, actually not but also, but and also, there is, I believe, a need for the autism diagnosis. Because, in particular, in my experience, I personally was rejected, humiliated, ostracized, outcast for having autistic traits. I was made to think I was less valuable as a human being because I had those traits. And I felt very, very isolated in that. And knowing now that many of the reasons that I was socially rejected, isolated, made fun of, bullied, was because that my brain is wired differently and I act differently and think differently than the average person. It's not because I'm less valuable or just plain weird. It's because I'm part of this neural tribe. It's a necessary corrective. I need that corrective to bolster my self-esteem. That's part of it. The other part of it is self-compassion, self-understanding, understanding what my needs and limitations are, and working with those who are closest to me to understand what my needs and limitations are and why I might exhibit certain behaviors, and for them not to maybe think that certain behaviors are just rude, ridiculous, weird, but are just traits or symptoms of autism. And personally, that's been very, very, very helpful to me. So for instance, it is very common for autistic people not to be able to multitask very well. We like to do one thing at a time. It's important to us. So, I've traditionally not dealt with interruptions very well. I have a young child, and frankly, if I thank God I at least knew it now, but it would have been helpful to have known this when he was younger. Because just the self-knowledge, just the self-awareness of, Laura, you struggle with diverting attention. This is something you struggle with. This is something that triggers you. So when it happens, have enough self-awareness to know that you're probably going to be irritated. And then watch your reaction. Okay? Because that self-knowledge, it gives you that bird's eye view that can help you pause for a second and maybe make different choices. Without the diagnosis, you're just fishing around in the dark as to what your triggers are and what is wrong with you, and figuring it out all on your own. When you get the diagnosis, there's a lot of clarity. To me, every individual is unique, 100%. Every individual is different. There's so much to explore, of yourself. But there are many things that autistic people have in common that are kind of like, these are the big things that we struggle with. And seeing it written out in black and white, it's like, okay, these are the things I struggle with. All right, these are the things I need to be mindful of. These are the things I need to do a lot of self-care around. These are things I need to work on. These are the things that I need to have compassion for myself and patience for myself. That is just so mind-blowingly helpful to me. Even last night, right? Like old me. It's kind of an impossible scenario because I old me didn't know she had autism, right? But old me might have taken on that person kind of like head to head and been like, well, I'm actually autistic and here's why this is what you said is insulting, blah, 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 blah. But me knowing limitations around social communication, me having compassion for the anxiety I feel in group settings, likely very closely linked to having autism, it's going to be like, oh no, Laura, you are no match. You're not going to be a match for this neurotypical person and your verbal skills. This is not going to be the time for you to self-disclose. It's not safe, and you're probably get torn apart here because that's not your strong suit. Like you're going to be better at one-on-one, and just disclose in that way. You don't have to do this group setting thing. Okay, so the long and short of this here is, for me, it is helpful to take in the criticism, to be aware of the pitfalls, the booby traps of identity politics, because I do think that they're real and it can be an important corrective. But that is not to say that I don't feel tremendous and great value in having a diagnosis, and that it isn't more overwhelmingly positive for me. Okay, well, thank you for listening. Take care.